Hi, I'm Jeff Hall with the Westford Historical Society. I'm here to bring you part 2 of the history of North Westford. North Westford is Groton Road to Westford's northern border. In part 1, we started at the Groton line and went from the Groton line down Route 40 and as far as Dunstable Road. On Dunstable Road, we ended up in the early part of the 20th century talking about the selling of the Dane land, the Dane family, which had owned much of the property on Dunstable Road, in 1912. And that's where we pick up with part 2. So let's proceed with part 2 of the history of North Westford. Okay, part 2 continues with the sale of the Dane farm on Dunstable Road at long sought for pond to Joseph Allen to be developed for camp lots. Joseph Allen was a developer out of Boston. The Danes also passed 20 acres to the Boston Missionary Church, which is now the site of the Nabnasset American Legion. Here's a bird's eye view of long sought for pond for the sales advertisement in 1912. Note to the right of this picture you see Groton Road, and then as we travel down Dunstable Road, look at the names of the roads. Long Road, Sought For Road, Pond Road, Dell Road, Beatrice Road, and Olive Road. Those names are still retained today. These pictures show what a typical long sought for pond bungalow would have looked like in the property that was sold by Joseph Allen. And you can see, they're small, and some have retained that. Some of them have been done over and have become permanent year-round homes. I want to focus on the Boston Missionary and Church Extension Society. They came in about 1925. This is a brochure from 1929 showing the activities at the site. Bible study, nature study, music, swimming, hiking, character building, patriotism, pageantry, and handwork. As you can see on the right-hand side, the camp opened in July, closed the end of August, accommodated some 200 children. $7 would send a child to camp for 1 week, and $25 sends a child to camp for 1 month. Okay, the next slide shows you pictures of the Boston Missionary Church Extension Society that existed from 1925 to 1947. On the left-hand side, we see the boys' house, which was on the left, that accommodated the boys there, and the girls' house on the right. That girls' house was later built into the American Legion that we know today. And here's a picture from the brochure of showing the morning exercises outside the boys' house in 1928. The next slide gives you an idea of what they did there. The church group, for example, in 1928 showed Happy Summer Children and a view of long sought for pond from the 1929 brochure. The next slide gives you an idea as well of some of the activities from the brochure. You can see swimmers, in the cooling waters. And the picture on the right shows you some of the lake swimmers, 1 mile swimmers that competed in 1928. Okay, more of the old Dane farm, which was sold in 1912, is then broken up into camp lots in 1947. These site plans, the one on the left shows you the westerly side of Dunstable Road with camp lots 1947, and then the one on the right shows you the easterly side of Dunstable Road camp lots in 1947. If you look at the one on the right, you can see long sought for pond. So if you got the easterly side, that meant you got a waterfront property. Investors also sold to the Channing fraternity of Lowell in 1949. Channing's mission was to serve underprivileged youth. The boys and girls houses with approximately 13 acres is later sold to the Nabnasset American Legion post 437 in 1957. They had been functioning out of the Fletcher Club in Massachusetts prior to that. Okay, the picture on the left shows you the houses once again. This is courtesy of Joe LaPiana. And the one on the right was a 1975 photo of what the National American Legion Post 437 looks like, similar today. Okay, the 1853 and 1875 Westford maps show the long sought-for pond area and the families who were there. On the 1853 map on the left-hand side, you see James Hildreth and Jesse Hildreth. But look down towards the bottom of that, and you see it says the Smith family. There were two buildings. One we know is the Brick Tavern that's there today, and the house next to it is where the Smiths actually lived. And a couple of other, you can see the Dane family there on Dunstable Road as well. And then if we go to the 1875 map, okay, where the Hildreths were, you now see B.F. Tenney, who married into the Hildreth family, for which Tenney Road was named after. The Danes are still there, but the property, the hotel, has changed hands. It's now the J.H. McDonough Hotel, and the building next to it is now owned by the Shigros. Hildreth Farm and Grove on Long Sought-For Pond is known today as Summer Village. Previously was Wyman's Beach. The Hildreth estate is sold to Minnie Book in 1911. Book sells to Wyman in 1952. There was little settlement on the shores of Long Sought-For Pond, actually until the late 1700s. In the 1800s, Jesse and his son, James Hildreth, had established farms at Long Sought-For Pond. These homes have been preserved and can be seen at the entrance of Summer Village. On the 1885 real estate tax roll, Frank H. Hildreth, son of James Hildreth, had built two beach houses, creating the Hildreth Grove on this property. Frank later added two more cottages. In 1911, the Hildreth's estate is sold to Minnie Books and her husband, Julius, who will continue to operate the Grove. They added 5 more cottages. The resort and beach area were called Books Beach. Horace and Iona Wyman purchased the property in 1952 and create Wyman's Beach and Campground, moving the beach from the entrance road to its present location today. Wyman's Beach final season was 2006. The property is then sold and Summer Village is established. The picture on the left shows Frank Hildreth, son of James Hildreth, who sells the property. Very prominent citizen of the town. As you can see, he was educated in the Westford Public Schools and actually served in the school committee in 1893. Minnie Book purchases the Hildreth estate in 1911 and continues the Grove and establishes Books Beach. Look at the left-hand side. The property tax evaluation for Minnie Book shows that she has the house, but they're still doing farming there at the time. There's now 9 cottages, so it's still kind of a resort area for those people coming out from the city looking for a country experience. And an interesting photo from the Lowell Sun in 1942 shows bathers at Long Sought-For Pond. You might see some familiar names if you've been around town for a while. In this group of bathers at Long Sought-For Pond, from left to right, are Margaret Weldon, Carol Benoit, Janine Moulton. Janine Haberman was a teacher in the Westford school system. Ann Moulton, Nancy Benoit, Bobby Randall, and Dave Moulton, one of the major developers, home developers in Westford. Postcard from around 1920 of Long Sought-For Pond, looking from Books Beach. Remember, Books Beach is right at the entryway into what we know today as Summer Village. And a 2019 photo from the same view showing Pine Point on the right-hand side, each one of the photos. Okay, Joe LaPiana Sr.'s restaurant was across from Books Beach. What happens, Joe LaPiana Sr. purchases the land across from Books Beach in 1950 to start a restaurant at the junctions of Dunstable Road and Books Beach. On that photo on the left, You see Joe Sr. in the background with the sign saying Joe's Diner, and there's some of his relatives and workers at the restaurant. On the right-hand side is Joe LaPiana Sr. and his daughter at Brooks Beach around 1940. These photos came courtesy of the LaPiana family. Horace Hoppy, we know him as, and Iona Wyman purchased the Brooks land and other properties abutting the shores of Longsword Fall Pond in 1952. They established Wyman's Beach and Campground. The photo on the left-hand side is the James Hildreth home. Note the extension in the back there. Looks like a storage area. Well, the picture on the right is taken in front of that extension. This is the photo of the Wyman family and some others outside the store and office in 1952 after Hoppy and Iona purchased the area. And some photos, courtesy of Thelma Wyman Riley. That was Hoppy and Iona's youngest daughter, Thelma. And the picture on the left-hand side was taken from the picnic area. And if you look in the distance there, you see a building. That was the refreshment stand. The one on the right was taken in a boat, obviously off the shores. The next photo shows you the picnic area. And another picture taken shows the cottages for rent and the campgrounds, which if you were on the water would have been to the right-hand side of Wyman's Beach. Okay, the Hildreth homes were built on the Longsword Fall Pond in the early 1800s. And these homes were renovated by Summer Village, the James Hildreth home on the left and the Jesse Hildreth home on the right-hand side. The next photo shows you that Wyman sells to Guthrie and Hall in 2005, who established Summer Village. The Hildreth house and the Summer Village main office, and it was the same area where Wyman's had their office and store. And then the post office was renovated from an outbuilding on the property. These photos, the one on the left shows you a typical Summer Village home, and the one on the right is a view of the beach and Longsword Fall Pond. This is the same beach that Hoppy and Iona Wyman built when they purchased the property in 1952. Another landowner was George White of 62 Main Street in Westford Center. He owned some 60 acres of land north of Longsword Fall Pond to the Kingsborough line. The Sassafras Conservation Trail is located on a portion of this land. George White raised prize cattle and had an automobile dealership in Lowell. The picture on the left shows you the Duncraven farm of George White, as it was known, at 62 Main Street. All of those buildings aren't there today. The farm certainly isn't. And on the right-hand side, George F. White displayed his prize Ayrshires at his Rio dealership in Lowell in 1919. Also, north of Summer Village was land owned by John Ward and others, which is a granite outcropping known as Ledge Lot. Quarrying was done here in the late 1800s. On the map on the left, you see at the star at the top, that was the land owned by George White. And the star at the bottom will show you where the ledge lot was. The picture on the right-hand side gives you a view from the ledge lot, but if you look in the background, you can see a couple of those buildings. Those are Summer Village homes. Back to Longsword Fall Pond. Girl Scouting started in Lowell in 1922. And in 1924, camping began on the pond by renting from the YWCA's Camp Munasaka. In 1926, adjoining land was secured and a large cottage became the Scouts' Camp Wettusco. Wettusco's tenure ends and Camp Runnels in Pelham, New Hampshire opens in 1930 as a full-time camp to accommodate the Girl Scouts' growing popularity. That camp still exists today in Pelham, New Hampshire. Okay? And a couple of photos, courtesy of Peg Underwood, who was there and was on that website, showing swimming classes at the pond in 1926. and archery at Camp Wettusco, also in August of 1926. The YWCA, Camp Munasaka at Long Saw Fort, was established in 1923 and operated into the 1940s. By 1945, this camp becomes Camp Wiedemoot. And here's a couple of photos from the Lowell Sun. One on the left-hand side shows some of the young ladies posing for a picture. And on the right-hand side, girls' activities were swimming, boating, crafts, religious classes, plays, reading, storytelling, hiking, and archery, as can be seen in this picture. Camp Wiedemoot was a Lowell YWCA camp on Long Saw Fort Pond. In 2001, except for several acres with the original buildings that were preserved by Dean Corvus, all other land was sold for a housing development. And once again, a couple of articles from the Lowell Sun, one in 1950, showing a diver, and the Vespa services from a Lowell Sun article in 1952. Here's a couple of slides from 1968 Lowell Sun. Okay, the one on the left shows sailing, and the one on the right shows archery. It's a bullseye. And this is what the Camp Wiedemoot compound looks like today. From left to right, there's the girls' bunkhouse, the dining hall, the office building kind of in the back. In the rear is a shower house. Okay? Now, we will stop there. I need to spend more time on that. I want to go through that again, okay? Okay. Camp Wiedemoot compound as it looks today, from left to right we have the girls' bunkhouse, the dining hall, an office building, and in the rear you see the shower house. But how we get these pictures? On August 24th in 2019, Chip Juliana took us out in his pontoon boat, kind of to give us a tour of the pond. And when we were out there, as we were approaching this area, we're going to take some pictures, we ran into Joe Ingalls out in his boat. Joe Ingalls had worked for the highway department, an old friend, and he says, you want to come into the compound and take a look around? So he invited us in, and so we were able to get a tour of that area and also some pictures. Okay, the next slide will show you a couple. Okay, this is Camp Wiedemoot Dining Hall on the left-hand side, which also serves as a chapel, a meeting hall, and other activities were held in that area. And there's the girls' bunkhouse, which is now a private home. Camp Wiedemoot Estates was established in 2001. And here you see the entryway to Camp Wiedemoot Estates right off of Kingsborough Road. Okay, let's go back out to Route 40 and look at the Sugar family at Groton Road. As we explained earlier on the 1855 and the 1875 maps, Smith owned the property on the 1853 map, but Sugar owns the property in the 1875. And this is the house, looks similar to that today. Fred Sugar of Groton Road is cutting ice at Long Saw Fort Pond at the north end in 1950 in this photo on the right. Sugar Grove postcard from 1920, looking at the southwest end of Long Saw Fort Pond at Route 40, was the grove operated by the Sugar family of 270 Groton Road. If you look at this, behind those trees on the left-hand side, you would find Groton Road, Route 40. Okay. We move up to the corner of Groton and Kingsborough Road. We come to the Basinas World War II Memorial. This was dedicated to the Basinas family that immigrated from Greece and built their home on Kingsborough Road in 1938, honoring the Basinas boys who served in World War II, Jim Basinas, Nick Basinas, and Andy Basinas. Okay. The photo on the left-hand side down the bottom shows Paul Murray, who was the veterans agent who moderated the dedication ceremony. And there's Paul, Nick Basinas, Andy Basinas, and Jim Basinas. And the one in the rear is Fred Simon, who worked at the time for Senator Panagiotakis, and he was there to give a citation commemorating the ceremony. And there is the monument that stands there today to the Basinas, calling it Basinas Square. We head down Kingsborough Road, and on Flushing, you find the Flushing Pond Picnic Grove and fishing spot was run by the Smith family of Waltham starting in 1936. The entrance was on the right off of Kingsborough Road. So looking at that photo on the left, where you see that old car, that was the entranceway. And the photo on the right shows you the picnic area and where the boats were launched. And you can see in the background a building, and you'll see in the next slide that building again. The Grove ceased to exist operating after the 1938 hurricane, but the Smiths continued to use their camp until the 1970s. Okay? We want to thank Beth Connors, a descendant of the Smith family, for the family information. The photo on the left shows you the camp that they used for years, around 1940, and just prior to its destruction in 2018 is the photo on the right. Interesting article, while Rich was doing his research and going through some of the Lowell Sun articles, we found this. A federal agent was killed in a liquor raid at Flushing Pond Camp on September 2nd, 1925. Agent Mulcahy, badly wounded by Joseph Maylott of 159 Merrimack Street. Maylott was held on $50,000 bond and air court 6 Devon soldiers and 3 Lowell women, also placed under arrest. The shooting occurred when Maylott refused to allow the officers to enter the camp. Okay? Maylott was arraigned with charged with shooting with intent to kill, while conducting a house of ill fame and with exposing liquor for sale. Okay, look at the next slide, and it shows you the results of that trial. Beginning with September 21st, a jury is impaneled. But on October 7th, the counsel for Maylott attacks the search warrant. And on October 10th, they're done testifying, and it goes to the jury. The 13th of October, Maylott is found not guilty of murder. I'm going to read you the last paragraph there. Acquittal resulted, it is said, from the ruling of Judge Fondick that the search warrant under which the raid party operated was invalid because it was issued by an assistant clerk of courts in the Air District who had no such power. This fact rendered the raiders trespassers on the Maylott property. So Maylott was found not guilty. Interesting. Moving north up Kingsborough Road, the Chandler family on Flushing Pond at 18 Kingsborough Road was a very prominent Westford family. Ephraim Chandler Farm. Ephraim Chandler moved to Westford in 1720. Remember, it was then part of Chelmsford. He established his home on Flushing Pond. Ephraim was a farmer and a tanner by trade. He is also the cousin of William Chandler, who established the fulling and grist mills at Brookside. He was a selectman in 1742, and the homestead was in the Chandler family for approximately 150 years. The right hand shows you a portion of the Sims map from 1853 showing the Chandler farm, the hill, the pond, and that road to the north, which was then known as Chandler Road. It's now known as Flushing Pond Road. Later, the Ephraim Chandler Farm became the Sarias Stakopoulos home and farm from 1915 to the present day. John Sarias operated Lakeside Farm starting in 1915 as a vegetable and fruit farm, later adding chickens and eggs, all for sale in the Boston market. The farm had up to 1,000 egg-laying hens. His son-in-law, Charles Dicopoulos took over the farm, operating until 1975. Local and summer visitors would purchase eggs, apples, and vegetables at 18 Kingsborough Road. Take a look at the photo on the left-hand side, first of all, and this was probably taken in the early 1900s after the Dicopoulos had bought the area. And you can see the barn there was destroyed by a fire on the 23rd of January in 1963, so that no longer exists. Also, if you look closely on the right-hand side behind those trees, you see the ice house, which foundation, if you look real close, if you're in the area, still exists today. And the photo on the right is how that home looks today on Kingsborough Road. Wooden boats were for sale, rowboats for rent, operated by Charlie Dicopoulos on Flushing Pond from 1950 to 1963. Photo on the left gives you a view of the pond looking east from Kingsborough Road. And the area across the street from the home we just showed you was the area where Charlie's Boats was located. Charlie had boats for sale and for rent. Moving north up Kingsborough Road, we come to the Old North Hill Estates. And the Old North Hill Investment Trust, quality homes built by John A. and Paul L. McDonald. Okay, this is the site plan from 1967, okay, showing some of the early areas of what we know today as the North Hill Estates. There are the house and barn granite boulders, which are located northwest of the North Hill Estates. Access is by the Sassafras Trail, which runs from North Hill Estates to Tenney Road. The boulder on the left-hand side is the house, and the boulder on the right-hand side is the barn. And the next photo shows you yours truly at the house boulder. And no, I did not go up that ladder to try to climb it, but it gives you an indication of just how large these are. Okay, these are granite areas along Sassafras Trail located at Oak Hill and Long Sought For Pond. The picture on the left shows you surface boulders like these that made granite quarrying attractive as early as the 1820s in Westford. And off the trail at Long Sought For Pond, this is the ledge lot that we showed you earlier, but it gives you a much better picture of the ledge itself. Moving northward, up Kingsborough Road, we're at the stone house shown on the Sims map, which is an all-granite home built with surface granite. The earliest owner of this home was Allen R. Perham, a farmer who lived in the house from approximately 1855 to his death. Perham kept cows, horses, swine, and sheep on his 49-acre farm. The home is an example of local granite block construction, one of two granite homes in Westford. The other is H.E. Fletcher home located at Fletcher's Quarry, and we will be seeing that a little later on in the presentation. At 90 and 92 Kingsborough Road, we find Ed and Vaughn's gift shop owned by the Walcall family that operated it from their home. They later built the welcoming gift shop next door at 92 Kingsborough Road. And that would be the building you see on the right-hand side. In 2010, Al Garside, owner of the Garside Monuments, purchased the property to expand his business. Al enlarges the building to twice its size. Garside Monument sells gravestones, memorial stones, granite steps, and posts. And there's a picture in the middle of the late Al Garside. Al's grandson is now running that business. The Samuel Adams House is at 111 and 108 Kingsborough Road. On the left-hand side, we say a prominent Chelmsford family, Adams family, dating back to the 1600s. Prior to 1729, remember this land was part of Chelmsford. The picture on the right, the home is known to have been the barn of the Adams family. And then we move a little further northward, and we come to the Butterfly Place at 120 Kingsborough Road. It opened in 1989. They exhibit butterflies from all over the world and explain the butterfly life cycle. Then we have the village at Stone Ridge, which was built in 2001 as a 55 and older community and was previously a working granite quarry. The picture on the left shows you the working quarry of multiple owners since the 1800s. The most notable quarry was the Oak Hill Granite, which was started in 1936. The remains of a granite pump house used to drain quarry and recirculate water back to the quarry for cutting stone is the picture on the right. Okay, moving north on Kingsborough Road, we get to the Merrill Quarry of North Westford. Many of these photos were courtesy of the Merrill family of North Chelmsford. Let's first look at the 1853 to 55 Sims map showing Colonel Jesse and Dolly Colburn's home and the stone quarry, which was purchased by George W. Merrill in 1863. On the photo on the right is of the Merrill family and the home. To left to right, we have George Merrill II. His dad has since passed away. His sister Lelia Merrill Queen, and the grandfather Samuel Merrill, who was born in 1805. As I said previously, this is the Colburn family home. Okay? These photos, these up-and-coming photos of Merrill's quarry, shows you George Merrill II sitting on the left in his suit, and Samuel Merrill standing on the right in his suit around 1886. And then an oxen cart with a load of granite spreaders used for curbing and cemetery plots in 1886. The next photo is going to show you how things changed in quarrying, because we're in 1950. And Merrill's quarry at this time was known as Morris's Quarry because the Merrills owned the property, but were leasing it to the Morris brothers, who operated their quarrying operation out of this area. And here's a picture showing a quarry truck and a derrick for lifting on the left-hand side, and quarry saw houses. One on the left was for cutting granite by wire saw. The house on the right had a 6-foot metal rotary blade. Merrill Quarry today, the property is posted as no trespassing. The photo on the left is looking from the jumping ledge, and the photo on the right shows you the jumping ledge that had been used by teens over many years. The quarry was actually used for the movie Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler. At this time, we would like to take time to remember George Merrill, thank him for his photos, the family history, and quarry information. George W. Merrill was born in 1929 and died in March of 2020. Many of George's years were in the United States Air Force. He served as a navigator during the Korean and Vietnam Wars. George retired with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in 1981. He was an active participant in Chelmsford town government. He helped the Westford Museum understand many aspects of granite quarrying. This photo was on September 25th, 2019, when George took Rich McLaughlin for a tour of his family's quarry. So that sign that said no trespassing, Rich had the permission and the guide of George Merrill on that day. Okay, moving further north, we get to the Riley's Grove, which was on the Westford Kingsborough line and was very popular from the 1930s to the 1960s. The article at the top says the Bartenders Union holds the greatest outing ever at Riley's Grove in 1935. The Holy Name Men hold an outing there in August of 1949. And the Congregational Church of Kingsborough hold an outing there in July of 1966. It was closed down soon after that in the early part of the 70s. The map on the left-hand side is the Ywca map from 1889. As you can see, Isaac Cocken had worked this land as a granite quarry in 1826, and Makepeace Road is shown with the residents at this time. I would like to mention at this time that Isaac Cocken's sister married my great-great-grandfather in 1840. Okay? And as you can look at Makepeace Road, on the top of that, you see the names J. Ting, very familiar name in Kingsborough, J. Patch, and J.G. Hall and D. Hall. The Hall family is making their entrance into Westford. And on the right-hand side, this is a picture from the Hall homestead in around 1900. From left to right, my great-uncles Ed, my great-grandmother Bridget, Cliff, John, who would have been my grandfather, and his brother Isaac Jr., okay, who actually owned a lot of land up in the Millstone Hill area that was sold to MIT when they purchased that land. Here's the Hall family of Makepeace Road. You can see the Hall homestead in this 1920 photo. It was burned by the Nabnasset Fire Department as a training exercise in 1955. It had come to completely deteriorate. And this is a picture from the 50th wedding anniversary of Isaac and Bridget Hall in 1920. Those would be, one of those people in the front row were my aunts and my uncles and cousins and whatnot. But if you look at the picture of the baby, second hand from the left, that would be my dad, who was born in May of 1920, and is 3 months old there, being held by his mother. Also in this part of North Westford, we find Lumageri Quarry. The photo on the left-hand side is an overview of Lumageri Quarry and the surrounding area of the Graystone complex, okay? Graystone is that area on the left-hand side, and that area on the right with the white, and then the water area is the Lumageri Quarry complex. Lumageri Quarry was in operation for 100 years. Lumageri still operates a granite cutting business there today. Back out to Groton Road, 354 Groton Road. That house that you see in the picture is no longer there, but the owners over the years of this land, Chandlers, which owned it until 1877, Matthew Downs of the Brick Tavern fame, built this home in about 1900, and his son lived there. Axel Lundberg buys it in 1923. Axel Lundberg was the monument business out in Nabnasset. And the Schill family buys it in 1931 and owns it until 1967. The house was demolished in 2019. The Schill family opens what was known as Fred's Place, with access to a picnic grove and small beach area on Flushing Pond. In the 1960s, the Colopy family then opens Colopy's Fried Clams in that same building that was Fred's Place. The arrow at the top there on that overview is the house that you see on the left-hand photo, and the arrow on the bottom shows you a building that would have been Fred's Place and later Colopy's Fried Clams, and that street is Groton Road. So you get a lot of exposure. That clearing you see at the bottom is the area where you would have found that building that was used as Colopy's Fried Clams. And here it is today. It's called Alder Point. Pomeroy's brothers' sand and gravel property extended from Groton Road to Nabnasset Lake to Nutting and Depot Roads. By the late 1970s, the earth deposits were depleted and Pomeroy's closed operations here. A Meadow later returned to the area. This is a 1980s aerial view showing the area that had been used as the sand and gravel removal operation of Pomeroy's brothers. The picture on the right shows you Lakeside Meadows, which was established in 1995 on 100 acres of land. 68 acres of the land is put into conservation. And you can see that's Nabnasset Pond, okay? And the road on the left-hand side there would be part of all of Lakeside Meadows. Moving down Groton Road, we get to 427 Groton Road. This was a house built by Francisco Beretto for Adolf Schneider in 1920. The Schneider family lived here until 1928. Note the cobblestone exterior. Schneider sold to Olaf and Annie Osrud in 1928. Olaf worked as a stonecutter for Palmer Granite Quarry and once again the Lundberg Monument Company in Nabnasset. Now this 2019 photo shows you Groton Road. The arrow there is pointing to the cobblestone house, but also if you look at that darker brownish area, that's the old trolley line. The old trolley line that ran in, well, let's go to the next photo. It was the old Lowell and Fitchburg Street Railway, or the old trolley line. The line went from North Chelmsford down Route 40 and entered the forested area at the intersection of Forest Road and Route 40. Trolley service was established in 1906, but it was pretty much discontinued by 1930, replaced by bus service, and also automobiles were becoming much more popular. If you drove into Forest Road, to your left, that picture on your left, which takes you out to Route 40, and the picture on the right shows you where those power lines are. This would have been the old trolley line that ran down and through Lakeside Meadows, actually. Okay, Forest Road also extended out to Kingsborough Road. And you would have found the Lowell Underwaters Club there, which was founded in 1956 and was located at 80 Forest Road. The club did shore, night, wreck and boat dives. The club also did rescue and recovery for civil defense and worked for various police departments. Scouts and other youth groups were welcomed at the club. In 2001, the club voted to dissolve and cease to exist. But let's take a look at this Lowell Sun article from 1973. At the top, you can see the Underwater Explorers Clubhouse, okay, filling the tanks at that other second photo down, and a picture of Merrill's Quarry, where the Underwater Club helped some of the recovery of some of the automobiles that had been dumped there. Okay, and then the photo on the bottom shows you some of the prospects for the future that they hope for. As we move further down Forest Road, you go off to Rolling Meadow Lane, which is a cul-de-sac, and you find an abandoned quarry is located there. You can see it on the photo on the left-hand side, that dark area on the right of the photo, and then, of course, you have a picture of the actual quarry itself as it looks today. Towards the end, you had the Edwards parcel, which was purchased by the town in 1953, consisting of 40 acres of land set aside as town property. It is now under the control of the Conservation Commission and located south of where Kingsborough and Forest Roads meet. Okay, getting back onto Route 40, you have the Beretto family homes. Giovanni and Virginia Beretto, who came from Italy, immigrated to the United States in 1895 and built this house in 1910 at 472 Groton Road. Next door, Francisco Frank Beretto, the son, gives to his wife this Italian-style castle as a birthday gift in 1917. These and 3 other homes on Groton Road are built by the Berettos. Frank and his wife had 10 children, and 4 sons went into stonework. The Beretto Monument Company was established in 1935 and was next to the family home at 476 Groton Road. And you can see that building, okay, for the area photo and the advertisement. And actually the remains of that building is still there today if you take a real good look. Later, brother John and Dennis Beretto bought the Boxwood Monument Company in Milford, New Hampshire. They also owned the Kittledge Quarry in Milford, New Hampshire, a quarry producing granite curbing and decorative granite products. John and Dennis Beretto built the Hampshire Hills Athletic Club in Milford, New Hampshire. The left is an aerial view, and on the picture on the right shows you the entranceway with granite supplied by the Beretto Kittledge Quarry. Graystone Estates was established in 1997. It's a 225-lot residential housing development. And take a look at that map. A couple of things. You can see Makepeace Road at the top. Just below that is pretty much all of the Graystone establishment, with Merrill's Quarry on the left-hand side, Lumageri Quarry, the Middle School, and Graystone Estates. Down at the bottom, you're back out onto Route 40, okay? And you can see Route 3 in that picture also. The Rita Edwards Miller School in Graystone Estates was opened in 2002. Rita Edwards Miller was a 1935 Westford Academy graduate. She was a Westford school teacher and principal at the Frost and Cameron Elementary Schools. The Rita Miller School is located at 1 Mitchell Way. The road is named for longtime English teacher Irene Mitchell. Businesses along Groton Road. The 1979 master plan designates the eastern section of Route 40 as a commercial and industrial development area. The two advertisements you see on the left-hand side were longtime businesses that no longer exist along Route 40. The ones on the right are more permanent ones, Lavelle Machine and Land Tech Consultants. At this time, we want to thank WestfordCAT for all their help in bringing these presentations to you. And this is the location at 487 Groton Road. Moving down Route 40, we come to Wooden Corner at the intersection of Oak Hill and Groton Roads. And if you look, you can see the development of other businesses along there. The Lowell 5, Westford Children Learning Center, Westford Ace Hardware, Philbrook Motorsports, and several others. Okay, but this is an overview of that area, and you can see it's become developed with several businesses today. But let's look back at some of the history of the area. The Wooden Farm and Home at Oak Hill Road was the home of Augustus F. Wooden. The home burned in 1899. The Woodens were ancestors of George Fletcher, who operated the Stony Brook Farm down by the old Westford Depot. The Wooden family built this home after the fire. Many of the Woodens lived here. Mrs. Lillian E. Johnson ran part of the home as a boarding house for H.E. Fletcher Granite in the 1900s. So Walter A. Wooden was a farmer, electrician, florist. He owned the Nanasset Greenhouse Company, and he established his own water company and did landscaping design and was a constable. The water company that he established was right off of Wooden's Corner, and it kind of supplied for the homes and whatever businesses were in the area. Okay, and here's a couple of articles talking about that, one from 1912 and one 1913 in the Westford Wardsman. Wooden's home and land is sold, and Sweetwood Circle homes are built there in the late 1990s. At 500 Groton Road at Wooden's Corner was the site of the number 7 Nabnasset Schoolhouse, according to the 1853 map. It later became a wooden home. On the right-hand side, from that location, is where today you find Rapid Refill Convenience, Shell Gas Station, and Dunkin' Donuts. The Wooden Corner Oak Hill Road extension. Okay, this is the home of Andy Fletcher in the 1950s, and it was demolished in the 1980s. Andy was associated with Fletcher's Quarry. Today, you find laser surfaces near the former Fletcher home on the Oak Hill Road extension. 499 Groton Road. It was originally a Beretto home. The Nolan family lived in this home when it was taken This photo was taken in 1975. Then in 2000, the Lowell 5 Bank moved its Westford office from the Brookside Plaza to this location. That's the way it looks today. The Boat Diner was operated by Harry DeComas and located at the intersection of Oak Hill and Groton Roads. During the mid-1940s, the DeComas family lived in the home on the right. This restaurant accommodated the workers at Fletcher's Quarry. It was an ideal location for a restaurant, and also served the residents of the Nabnasset area as well. Moving further down, you'll find the Ace Hardware Shopping Center. This plaza replaced the house that was built in 1920 by the Beretto family. Note again, the cobblestone porch. But the businesses located there today are Ace Hardware, Ginger Tree, Domino's Pizza. The plaza was built in 2005. We got the H.E. Fletcher Quarry at Groton Road. This is an early 1900s Lowell telephone advertisement talking about building and street work, foundation stone, sidewalk flagging, and we're dealers in granite and stone contractors. Notice it says West Chelmsford, Mass, because that was where the post office was. Photo on the right, we have Herbert Ellery Fletcher, who was the founder of the quarry. Fletcher Granite. This information below is from the 2003 Westford Historical Society calendar. A belt of extremely hard and beautiful granite called Chelmsford Gray lies beneath our feet from Ayer, Mass to Pelham, New Hampshire. The belt only averages between 1 to 3 miles in width, but it runs very deep. It is quarried by several companies, chiefly among them is the Fletcher Granite Company. Founded in 1881 as H.E. Fletcher Company, more than 100 years later the company is still very active and is the longest operating company in Westford Mass. It has outlasted the mills along Stony Brook and many high-tech companies. Estimates are the rock will last for another 100 years. Look around in the villages, the center of town, at the many monuments, foundations, doorsteps, and walls that are made from this local stone. While bridges and curbing are the mainstays of Fletcher's product line, local granite has found its ways into bridges, buildings, and monuments, from Massachusetts to Washington, D.C., to San Francisco and Hawaii. Granite from Westford is a national traveler. On the property of the H.E. Fletcher Quarry is the H.E. Fletcher Granite Mansion that was built in 1910 and 1911. This was the new house of Councillor Herbert E. Fletcher of Oak Hill, and it was nearing completion in 1910. It had an elevator from the cellar to the attic and an automatic duster, just to name a few of the things. And it was visible from Oak Hill, skyward, from the Strawberry Hill Heights in West Chelmsford and Post Office Square. H.E. Fletcher did not live here very long. He actually ended up moving to Chelmsford, and it's been used over the years as a residence, but also as office buildings and such. Still exists today and is quite a treasure. Rich and I had a chance. We happened to be walking in there, and we were allowed to go through because there was a few contractors in, and it's amazing what the insides of this building look like. During the 1970s, the Old Quincy Market area in Boston underwent tremendous restoration and revitalization. The fronts of all the buildings had granite redone with Chelmsford gray granite. The pillars for the original Faneuil Hall had been carved from boulders in the Oak Hill area of Westford back in 1825. The Fletcher steam engine ended up at the National Historic Park. This is engine 410. The 410, an 060 switcher, was built by the American Locomotive Works Company of Manchester, New Hampshire in 1911 for the B&M Railroad. In 1950, it was taken out of service and sold to the H.E. Fletcher Granite Company. While hauling granite from the Fletcher Quarry on March 14, 1952, engine 410 slipped off the tracks at the Gilson's Crossing in Brookside, Namnasset. That is located next to PK Liquors. That would be the area, or the Willows. An old steam derrick tried to get it back on track. Finally, cables and pulleys did the trick. And that's a picture of that on the left-hand side. By 1990, it was again retired. Now totally restored, you may see Engine 410 at the Lowell National Historic Park, where it sits alongside Dutton Street. George Sandy Shepherd from Westford was one of the handful of men who worked on its restoration. Today, the Granite State Concrete Company is at 520 and 534 Groton Road at the site of the quarry. John McClellan is CEO and owner. Granite State Concrete Incorporated and J.G. McClellan Concrete Company Incorporated operate out the site. Fletcher Granite and Manufacturing, okay? North and south sides of Groton Road. You can see on the photo on the left, that's the quarrying being done, and that's one of the ledges. And on the right, you see the stones, that's where the manufacturing takes place. Newport Materials. At the entrance off of Groton Road near the Westford line, the operation is located in Westford and Chelmsford. An aggregate recycling and processing company located in the oldest active quarry in the United States. And now we are at the Chelmsford line. So we wish to thank the following for contributing to our North Westford history: Thelma Wyman Riley and the Wyman family, Joe Ingalls for the tour of Camp Wiedemoot, the Basinas family, the Smith family of Waltham, John Stokopoulos, and particularly George Merrill and his family, and so many others. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the history. Please visit and support the Westford Museum. They are open most Sundays under COVID restrictions, so keep an eye on the website from 2 to 4.